The Seahawks are at the top of the NFC West, which is not something that I think I'd ever say before the season began. We've got our Mariners season in review, our Sounders season in review. Kraken season is fully underway, and man, there are some similarities to last year. And unfortunately, the rain season comes to an end in the semifinal round. So we will jump straight into our Seahawks-related news. And man, I mean, I said it before the year started, and even in preseason, I thought this was a 7-win team, and now they've got more than half of that with 4 wins. Hey, if you're going to prove me wrong, please do so. I'm okay with that. So we look at the past game here. The Seahawks beat the LA Chargers. I don't like saying that. I like San Diego Chargers better, but I digress. 37-23. So kind of a high scoring. The Seahawks offense finds their groove once again, really, after a 19-point game that they grinded out last week against the Cardinals. Offensive player of the game. I mean, it's really hard to go with anybody outside of Kenneth Walker III. The guy just continues to impress running the ball, including a 74-yard game-sealing touchdown in the fourth quarter. It's the second longest in the final quarter in franchise history, behind Marshawn Lynch back in 2014. Walker tallied 23 carries for 168 yards and 2 tutters. Again, I will be wrong in this business. When you talk about 7 teams especially, I'll be wrong eventually. But, I mean, the way that he has stepped up in Rashad Penny's absence, you think about how nice of a 1-2 punch it would be if you had both of those guys. But, from when he was drafted, knowing that he's had that workhorse ability, the incredible season he had at Michigan State, granted, where he was taken, I was skeptical at first, but now obviously you see the value and the return that Seattle is getting. Just how he's been able to take over that role is pretty, I mean, it's huge for this offense, right? I know Geno's been relatively efficient. They found Marquise Goodwin twice in this game. Hopefully DK Metcalf's okay. We'll get to updates on that in a little bit when we get to injury-related news. But having a balanced game, a truly balanced offense where I can go to Kenneth Walker III and be able to trust him out of the backfield, and then, being efficient with the tight ends this year. You've been able to target the tight ends a lot more than you have when Russell Wilson was here in general. So it's pretty great to see a legitimately balanced offense that's effective and efficient. So we go to the defensive players of the game here, and Ryan Neal had another great week. 7 total tackles, 6 of them solo, 4 pass deflections, and 1 interception. I know I went with Neal this week to kind of this week, but also last week. Last week I did it to be different, as Tariq Woolen had recorded his 4th interception in as many games. But Ryan Neal is a guy that in Jamal Adams' absence has stepped up, and he's shown throughout the last few years the kind of player that he can be for this team. Incredible depth that you have at safety. And it's I know earlier in the season, after Jamal had been injured, people were wondering, hey, how come Ryan Neal isn't getting playing time? And now he is. So that's great to see. It's just more value to this Seahawks defense that earlier in the year really saw some issues, and now the last few weeks has done a better job. I know they gave up 23 points to the Chargers, but the Chargers are a good football team. They're dealing with some injuries. J.C. Jackson, their cornerback, went out of this game with an injury. I don't know if Justin Herbert's fully healthy. Keenan Allen's not back yet. Mike Williams, I believe, has an injury. Got that notification just a few minutes ago. But regardless, they've got Austin Eckler, who is a monster out of the backfield. Justin Herbert is probably going to be one of the top quarterbacks in this league for a long time. So 23 points you can live with, especially when your offense almost drops 40. So overall, really happy with this game. We'll look at inactives from this. Offensive guard Gabe Jackson was out, so you lose one of your starting guards. Wide receiver Penny Hart, cornerback Sidney Jones and Artie Burns, and then safety Tease Tabor. So, and then interesting to look at with this inactives group, Jones and Burns, as far as I know, those guys are healthy. So those guys are getting healthy scratched because of Tariq Woolen and because of Kobe Bryant. That's you look at this rookie class once again, and you see guys like, I mean, we just talked about Ken Walker at the height of this, Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant, Abraham Lucas, Charles Cross. Those guys are all contributors, instant contributors, and that's not something you get out of more than two people in a draft, let alone five. So things are going good right now. I don't know how long this will last. I don't know with the 49ers acquiring Christian McCaffrey, if they'll find a surge, if the Rams will figure things out. I don't put much on the Cardinals. I don't know what's going on with Kyler Murray. Maybe it was the fact that Modern Warfare dropped out, and I don't know if you've seen the memes, but whenever Call of Duty drops a game or a double XP weekend, Kyler Murray has not won a game during a double XP weekend. So I'm just being dumb. Let's go to injuries against the Chargers here. There's a lot of things that Seattle had to deal with injury-wise against LA. Poona Ford had to come out of the game in the first quarter with a foot injury. He was probable to return, though. DK Metcalf, the biggest name amongst those injury-wise. Early x-rays on his knee were negative after he had to leave the game with a knee injury and did not return. So the early x-rays were negative, which is a good sign. Further testing will need to be done to determine the severity of the injury. It's a patella tendon injury. And we learned earlier this morning that he will not need surgery, per head coach Pete Carroll. Carroll said that the team has got a really good report back on DK, but his return deadline timeline is still to be determined. So it doesn't seem like it's going to necessarily be a long-term thing, which is obviously a great scenario, but just seeing how long he'll be out. But it also opens the door up. Someone that I was hoping would step up in his absence was D. Eskridge. D. Eskridge, a guy that was drafted a few years ago, has dealt with injuries, had a big concussion last year, never really came back from it. And this year, I think he had a fumble this past game, he had a fumble, and that was the most notable thing he did. Marquise Goodwin stepped up, a guy that's been a veteran around this league. Tyler Lockett was still able to play despite not practicing this past week. But I mean, if DK is going to miss some time, even a week, it's an opportunity for another wide receiver to step up. And I would have liked to, and still would like to see D. Eskridge make some impact, because they got him out of college as a guy who has speed. He's able to be dynamic out of the backfield if they need him to. And we haven't seen any of that really. So hoping that he's able to figure some things out there, because it sounds like DK will at least miss like a week. Linebacker / fullback Nick Bellore was ruled out with a concussion, as well as offensive guard Phil Haynes being ruled out with a concussion. So not good to see those two there. And then to have DK taken out, it's a brutal game. I mean, to have that all take place. We look over to team-related notes here. On the 19th, it was announced that cornerback Tariq Woolen was named the NFC Defensive Player of the Week for his performance against the Cardinals. 1 interception, 1 fumble recovery, and 5 tackles for Woolen give him the honors. And he continues to impress. I know he didn't record one this week, which it's not the biggest deal in the world. But again, we go back to that rookie class and how much of an impact that rookie class is having in year one, in the early stages of the season, let alone later in the year. So obviously they've still got 10 games to go, but they're good signs early on. And I know that a lot of us, it was like, hey, if the Seahawks beat Russell Wilson and the Broncos week 1, it's a success. And it's very interesting to see the trajectory of both of those teams, how you never want to see a guy injured, so hoping Russell is able to heal up, but how the Broncos have kind of gone into a free fall, and the Seahawks are atop of their division, which, again, if you told me that in the offseason, little in preseason, I would have laughed at you. I would have laughed at your face. But hey, on the 22nd, the Seahawks made some roster moves, elevating Bruce Irvin, yes, former Seahawk Bruce Irvin, and Xavier, getting used to other names, Xavier Crawford from the practice squad, placing Isaiah Dunn on injured reserve and Joey Blunt as questionable due to an illness. Also on the 22nd, the Seahawks had a scout at the UCLA versus Oregon Ducks football game. Seattle was one of 7 teams with scout at that Pac-12 showdown. In league-related news, on the 18th, we've got more stuff regarding Commanders owner Dan Snyder. Colts owner Jim Irsay sees merit in removing Dan Snyder. The Colts owner said he believes that the NFL potentially has the 24 owner vote threshold to force Dan Snyder to sell the Commanders. This comes after last week. Snyder said that he's got basically dirt on the other owners in the NFL, calling Roger Goodell a mafia boss, which is kind of funny. There was also some other owner news this past week where Robert Kraft, owner of the Patriots, and Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones got into some words, and there were some insults thrown. So kind of a weird situation with the owners around the league at this current point in time, especially considering the fact that this is happening during the NFL season, not in the off season. Regardless, on the 19th, as I already previously mentioned, the 49ers acquired Christian McCaffrey from the Panthers. The 49ers acquired the star running back in a blockbuster deal, sending 4 picks to Carolina, including 3 in 2023. The Rams also made a push for this star, which is incredible to see that, despite the fact that their win now sort of attitude, which did get them a ring, that it's hindering their success right now, that they're still trying to go all in and get McCaffrey, which I don't blame them. But I don't know, just interesting to see that. And I know that the Rams making that push increased the price of McCaffrey for the 49ers. So I guess thank you for that. On the 23rd, as I also hinted at, Russell Wilson has a partial tear in his hamstring. The Broncos quarterback wanted to play this past Sunday versus the Jets with a partially torn hamstring, but the team decided to hold him out. So interesting things for the Broncos after that trade that they made. I mean, I wonder at this point if they would have liked to keep Drew Lock. It's really funny to look at all this stuff and just sort of reflect on that trade in this current point in time, because I know they've got him locked up long term, and for Broncos fans that might be insert word here. We've got this guy locked up long term and he's not been at all who we were expecting, or maybe he turns it around. It is just a few weeks into I'd say it's relatively early in comparison to his contract, but it doesn't look good. So regardless, we'll focus on our own team here. The Seahawks sit at a 4-3 record. They are atop the NFC West here. Their next matchup is against the 6-1 New York Giants on October 30th here at Lumen Field with a 1:25 p.m. Kickoff. That's going to be a big one. The biggest thing about this game, I think, is if Seattle can stop the running game and primarily Saquon Barkley. I don't know if they've got that ability in them. Granted, the Seahawks defense has been playing better the last few weeks, but that's stopping Saquon Barkley is your number one priority.